Alright, today we're drawing Blastoise step by step. I'm using Crayola Supertips to get this look, but use whatever you're comfortable with. I'm using mixed media paper, so I'll keep my layers light since markers can rough up thinner paper. So whatever you have at home should handle it. Let's start with a small circle for the head and an egg shape for the shell. We can add 2 circles for those hydro pump hoses. And an eye line across the head and a center line for the nose. Let's add the right arm, the belly of the shell, and the start of the left arm. This one is trying to grab you, so draw it a little bigger than the other hand. Here's a line for the mouth, now the kneecap, a long toenail, and the other foot. Connect the shell to the belly, to the tail with straight lines. Okay, let's add the lines to the back of the shell and start working on the hose and the hose flap. And remember, keep the sketching loose. We'll tighten everything up with the outline. So the rim of the shell separates the back and the belly. The hose is not a perfect circle since it's on an angle. And I made the right hose too short so we can add some inches and it's no big deal. And let's add some turtle ears and start working on the eyebrows. He's a mean looking fella and he has a cool frown. We can use our eye line and add the eyeballs. Let's give him a nose so he can smell pizza. He's smiling because he's subscribed to Mr. Paper Page. Add some belly lines and more outlines to the right foot. And the arm looks like a pipe with 3 sections and 3 fingernails. And here's where we can start making the left foot look more footy. Then we can tighten up the rim of the shell. And I almost forgot to add a tooth. Now we can start looking at various spots and working on extra outlines and details. Here's where we can fix the loose sketching and start getting serious. Those simple shapes are starting to take more shape. And remember, you can pause or rewind at any time in the video. Press a little harder on the important lines, not everywhere, to make sure this looks like Blastoise and not a Ninja Turtle. And we can erase any lines that don't belong here. Keep in mind, if you draw light enough, the coloring will hide those pencil lines. So let's start adding marker to the drawing. I'll use dark blue for the eyes and other outlines. And I'm starting with my darkest blue and placing it in the shadow areas. And now I'm filling in the main blue. And we will use a light blue for the highlights, and the camera got blurry. And for the shell, start with a lighter orange, then a darker orange underneath for the shadow, and I'll finish with the brown for the deepest areas. Then a dark brown for a few outlines on the shell. And add dark gray for the hydro pump holes. And fill with gray for the shadows on the hoses. And finish with light gray. And we have brown for the inside of those hose flaps and the rest of the shell shadows. So we can layer here and try to get a nice dark look, but try not to tear the paper. And last, we have some grays and light blues for the whites. Some of the hoses, the shell rim, the nails, and the eyes. And here's some final outlines to wrap this drawing up. And a fun fact, Blastoise was the first Pokemon I ever drew. And this is how mine came out, but I'd love to see yours. I hope you had fun.